Hey, it's Pete with GCI Turf. I hope you're having a great day, and I got a good, cool little 3-series video thing I'm gonna do. One is going to be on slit seeding, one's going to be on dethatching, one's going to be on co-aeration. It's going to be 3 different videos, a little series. This little clip right here is going to be at the beginning of every one of them, so I can tell you about all of them, and I'll link them up in the description as I post them. So let's get with it. Let's talk about a slit seeder, a slice seeder, whatever you want to call it. Get lots and lots of questions about these this year, so I want to make a video on this all by itself. This particular one is the Stinger model. Of course, there are many options out there. The reason we actually went with this one, we've got X marks that work great. And the reason that I bought this one is because it has an option for a Velcro. You can stand on it, ride it, plus it's 2 foot wide, so I can cover more ground. It's a little more productive, okay? Basically, a slit seeder is a tool used. You put seed in this box. It's that box right there. Your seed goes in that box. You set your calibration on it, and it drops grass seed as the machine's moving. And there are these discs up under the machine that turn very high. They're very high speed. They turn really fast, and they cut grooves in the ground. And you can set the depth on that. Typically for fescue, I like about 1/4 inch, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 in that range, and it will put the seed in those little grooves, and then the dust or whatever, the debris it kicks up, kind of covers that grass seed back up, giving it a little bit of cover. So you can see the discs right here that spin and turn, and as they're turning, they're cutting these grooves in the ground. So here's your actual seed gate. If we get down in here real close, you see that little hole right there? That's where the grass seed comes out. You can see it down here a little bit better, these little openings, and of course you can gauge that with a dial. There's your little dial right there, and you set it to let the machine know how much seed you want to come out. Now, I guess the biggest question I get pertaining to a slit seeder is, Pete, should I slit seed? I mean, just should I do it? Well, I don't know. You'll have to answer that question yourself, because if you're a DIY guy, you got to go rent another machine. You got to go pick it up, bring it back to your home, and do a totally and completely separate process after you've aerated. Should you do it? If you're in bare dirt and you don't have something like an aeravator that busts the ground up really good, chances are you should do it. If you're in a real good thick stand of turf like this, should you do it? I'm not convinced on that. I honestly am not convinced that you should slit seed a very good, healthy, thick stand of turf. And I've got 1, maybe 2 reasons for that. One, you spend more money because you got to go rent the machine. You got to do all the calibration to get the thing right, using grass seed and all that. And then the other one is, if you're in a good thick stand of turf, it makes an absolute mess. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, look at there. Look at that mess. Now that's set at 1/4 inch deep. Turf type tall fescue, good and thick and dense. Look at how thick that turf is. Here we are mid-August, no irrigation. Look at that. Look at all this crap, all this junk that it pulls up. That is why I myself would not use it in a good thick yard, because then you have to clean all that up. You just can't leave that laying there. If you leave that laying here and it rains and rain mats that down, it's gonna choke out that turf up under there. It's gonna kill it dead as a hammer. Okay? Grass gotta have air to breathe. You gotta have oxygen, right? You can't smother it. That's no different than taking a blanket and laying it over top of the grass. So that's why I don't do it in a good thick standing turf. All right, now I'm over here in some bare dirt situation. I'm gonna show you what it looks like bare dirt. Now look at there. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm gonna hold this camera real still because that's gonna be my thumbnail. I think that make for a good one. Look at those right about here. But you can see the grooves. Now what happens is that grass seed gets deposited down in this groove. And as you water or the wind blows, or if it's dusty enough, it'll do it on its own. The machine will do it. It'll cover that grass seed back up. Like that right there. You can put a little cover on that seed, holding it in place, which is a big deal, and then allowing it to help hold moisture too. So I'm gonna show you a double pass slit seeding technique, and this is actually how we do it in renovation. And now I'm gonna shock you with this, okay? Because I don't actually put the grass seed in the hopper on these. We will from time to time, if we're spot seeding after the main aeration seeding is done and we're going back around to places and checking them, we might throw a little seed in here, and if we got a little spot in the yard that just didn't come up, we may do that and drop the seed while we're doing it. But in a bare like this renovation spot right here, I will put the grass seed out first with a spreader and spread it out evenly over the yard. And then I'll simply take the machine with no seed in it and do a double pass groove, meaning I'll groove it one way and then I'll go opposite the other way. I don't change the depth on it. I keep all that the same. All I'm doing is mixing the grass seed into the top 1/4 inch of dirt. That's all I'm doing by going over it twice. Heck, you can go over it 10 times if you want to, but realistically, you don't have to waste all that time. A double pass is plenty good. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like right here. Okay, so here's your double pass on it. Now you can see, I can still see the lines going that way kind of faintly. And then of course I went over this way, so they're more obvious. But I've now mixed that seed into the top 1/4 inch of dirt really, really well by doing that. I've noticed that over the years that when I do this in bare dirt, in renovation, that kind of thing, I've noticed that the turf seems to come up more uniformly or more evenly, that kind of thing, instead of a splotch here and a splotch there. I don't know what causes that, it just does. That's just something I've noticed. So there's your slit seeder. And then over here, in another video I made a 4 or 5 passes with a core aerator, and then I just come over here and went over it with a slit seeder, and look at this. Look at how nice and loose that is, right? That makes for a great seed bed. So that 1-2 punch on bare dirt of triple, quadruple passes with a core aerator on bare dirt, and then slit seeding on top of that, you're not a lot different than an aerator. You're real close to that, so it's going to give you a great result. All right, so there you go. That's my 2 cents on slit seeding. Now, very large yards, okay? We do renovations on some really big yards. We don't use those because they're time consuming. We have other equipment that does basically the same thing, but on a larger scale. So hey, I hope that helps you a little bit on what a slit seeder is, what it does, blah, blah. Large yards, you may want to stay away from this because that's going to be a ton of work. You know, you may just need to take your chances on, you know, your core aeration, or you can roll the yard with a roller, and that'll kind of help press the seed down in the ground if you got a really big yard. Small yards, renovation, medium-sized yards, renovation, great option, exceptional option. Hey, at the end of the day, it's all about whether you want to take it another step in getting that seed incorporated into the ground. If you want to spend the extra money renting one, if you're a lawn care operator, if you want to spend the money to buy one and you only use the thing once a year. So hey, there you go. Get your SLIT seeder right.